The South African Union of Students has welcomed the Higher Education Minister's decision to dissolve the NSFAS board and place the Student Financial Aid Scheme under administration. Blade Nzimande announced the decision yesterday following the resignation of the board chairperson Ernest Khosa. Khosa requested to be relieved from his role, citing continued security concerns. In January, he took leave of absence while a firm of lawyers were appointed to look into his conduct amid corruption allegations. The organization Undoing Tax Abuse had accused him and Nzimande of defrauding NSFAS through kickbacks from service providers.
We welcome with really much excitement the dissolution of the board of NSFAS, the reality that it has presided over a state of chaos and instability at the scheme, and slowly but surely the credibility and the integrity of the scheme are beginning to wane incredibly. You will remember that about 2 days ago we had also reached out to the minister regarding one board member who had also been in alleged corruption and receiving funds that they should not have received. So really we have moved, we have been in a perpetual state of chaos and instability for the better part of the last year or so.
The student union also continued the call for Nzimande to remove himself.
As it pertains to the investigations, most definitely the investigations must carry on so that they reach a logical conclusion. This is taxpayers' money that we are speaking about. I mean, we had a position before, even the last time we spoke, calling that the minister must, excuse himself. We have not met and felt that, materially the things have changed and therefore the minister should remain. Was that we believed that the minister was in over his head as it pertains to the leading and the leadership of the sector.
Okay, let's now unpack this with the OUTA CEO, Wayne Duvenage, as well as NSFAS spokesperson Ishmael Mnisi. Ishmael, if you can hear me, good morning. Thank you so much for making time for us this morning. So the decision by the board chairperson to resign, was that decision taken before the minister had decided that he will be placing the board under administration, or rather that he'll be dissolving the board and placing the agency under administration?
Good morning to you, Adrian, and to the viewers. Indeed, the decision by the chair to resign was taken before. The chair wrote to the minister a few days ago, and the minister considered his resignation and confirmed it yesterday morning. And so the decision to dissolve the board, it came after the chair has already resigned. But as I say, that he wrote to the minister some days before.
Would you be able to say then what the purpose of the meeting was that the minister had with the board?
Well, I was not in that meeting, but ordinarily what would happen is when a board gets dissolved, the minister has to convene the board, give reasons why he is making a particular decision. And the minister was meeting with the board from time to time, so it was not out of the ordinary that the minister will have a meeting with the board. But in this instance, I would assume that the two reasons that probably were given to the board. One was the fact that the chair resigned, and the minister would have had to communicate that to the board. And secondly, for him to tell or inform them about his decision to terminate or dissolve the board from operating.
Okay. In the resignation, there's also reports that he speaks about concerns around his security. Are you able to speak about that?
Not at all. I have not seen the reasons for his resignation. But if amongst them is the issue of concerns around his security, we all know that the chair raised this issue before. It's not a new issue. I once spoke about it as soon as the chair requested to be placed on leave, where he indicated that his personal safety and that of his family were under threat. And in our conversations thereafter, that threat continued. It never stopped since this whole issue of the direct payment service providers took place. So indeed, I would imagine that amongst those reasons that he will provide for his resignation will be the issue of his personal safety and that of his family. Okay.
Before I go to Wayne, Ishmael, as per the date of the resignation of the former board chairperson, is he still standing by his argument that he didn't have a meeting with any of the service providers, even though that there was that audio that was leaked by OUTA, and there was also attempts to solicit money from the service providers?
Now, let's go back to that narrative, Adrian. You'll recall that the chair indicated that the board requested him to engage any other stakeholder in the midst of the allegations against the then CEO and the involvement of or the appointment of the direct payment service providers. And amongst the people that the chair met at the time were the companies that were providing the services, direct payment services. So that has not been denied. Mm-hmm. What has been denied is the fact that the chair solicited bribes for himself and for the minister when, in the course of the meeting of this direct payment service provider, something that even today the chair still denies, that he never solicited any form of any bribe of some sort for his personal gain or that of the minister and that of the other political organization which was muted at the time as being part of the beneficiaries.
Okay, let's bring in OUTA CEO Wayne Duvenage. Wayne, good morning. Thank you so much for making time for us this morning as well. Your reaction to what the NSFAS spokesperson is saying now on the audio that you had leaked, but also the decision that has been taken by the minister to dissolve the board and place the agency under administration.
Yeah, okay, so firstly, let's get to the recordings. What is not being said here is that recording was not done with the chairperson and service providers in a manner of dealing with issues related to the problems that were unfolding at NSFAS. That was a recording of conversations that were not about the problems that were developing. It was a recording on discussions that were completely outside of that in a restaurant. If there was a recording of the chairperson reprimanding or dealing with issues and real serious concerns about the payment mess that was unfolding at NSFAS, so it would be a totally different situation, and that's not the case. So those recordings and that report that we released are very damning to the chairperson and the minister and NSFAS as a whole, and that is why we have this debacle. That is why the chairperson has obviously stepped aside initially and now resigning. I wouldn't resign if I was him, if I had nothing to resign for, if I was upstanding as the chairperson and doing my job diligently. So that's the real issue and the crux of the matter here. But coming to his resignation, obviously, we welcome the fact that people like Ernest Khosa are removed from organizations like this, but we believe he should have been fired. And we believe that the minister is just allowing him to get off the hook by resigning. What should happen now is this report that is going to be tabled imminently on the issues that are unfolding here by TGR, who have been commissioned to do so, is going to reveal a lot, and we have given our input to them on this. But this smacks of similar conduct by Mr. Khosa, who also resigned a few days before a report that was put out by PwC when he was involved in a potential or alleged corruption at the Mpumalanga Economic Empowerment Corporation years ago in 2005. So we see repetition here of this type of behavior. Mr. Khosa should be declared a delinquent director, or charges at least should be laid against him to have him declared delinquent, and others. It's just far too often it happens that people that are caught and found wanting like this are allowed to get off the hook by just resigning, and we hope that the minister does take this matter further, because accountability is not going to be meted out just by allowing people to resign.
Yeah, we're speaking to the South African Union of Students a bit earlier on, Wayne, and they are saying that even the minister should go.
Yeah, I believe he should, and we say that because if you look at other areas under his command or under his department, such as the services seat, where previously Mr. Nongogo was fired from NSFAS, we are involved now in unpacking potential corruption and maladministration in the in-seater right now, who's abusing power. They're the chairperson there. Mr. Ngobane, similar matters, and we've seen it in mixed seater and other seaters, this repurposing and interfering with procurement by boards. This modus operandi is rife throughout departments within the higher education. So we agree with that statement. The minister should step down. In fact, the president should fire the minister if they are serious about dealing with maladministration, corruption and waste of taxpayers' money.
Okay. Ishmael, when should we expect that report to be tabled?
Well, it is a report that is sanctioned by the minister, and the minister will make a determination of the tabling of any report with regards to the issues of governance at NSFAS, and in particularly relating to the direct payment service providers.
Yeah, but what about the investigation against the board chairperson or former board chairperson?
I'm referring to that, Aldrian.
Okay.
That recall that the chairperson, the decision to investigate the chairperson is taken at the ministerial level, and this is this is where such will take place, and the minister will be. It will be incumbent on him to release that report.
Okay. So let's do this, Ishmael. So the report has been completed. The investigation has been completed. Is that correct?
Well, I wouldn't know, Aldrian, because it has not been declared to us as staff members of NSFAS. As I'm saying, if the report has been completed and handed over, it would be to the minister. If there's still work that needs to be done in that report, it will still be at the purview of the minister. So the best perspective on this can be inquired from the ministry itself, if whether the report has been completed and whether there are any other further processes that are ensuing at the moment or not. And at that point, it will be obviously a document that can either be made public or upon request be made available.
Okay, one of the recommendations from the previous investigation was that the service providers, the contract with the service providers must be terminated. We understand that those service providers are still providing a service to NSFAS. Can you confirm that?
Certainly, Aldrian. We have spoken quite substantively about the legal processes for NSFAS to terminate the services of the direct payment service providers. We have made publicly as well the intention of NSFAS that it is to terminate these contracts. However, that cannot be done outside of the purview of the law. And we are currently having appointed a legal firm that will help us to ultimately terminate these services. But currently, we are still engaging them because we have a contract with them which has not as yet been terminated.
And we don't know how long that contract will remain in place because the contract was awarded unlawfully, and we're still paying these service providers.
Adrian, correct. We don't know how long they will still be rendering a service. As I'm saying, we have a legal process currently ensuing. The intention of the board was to have had this matter concluded by the beginning of this year in January. However, there has been subsequent engagements with these service providers by the investigators themselves and the NSFAS legal representatives and those that of these companies that we are talking about for us to finalize this. Okay. And upon that entire process, it will be at that point when NSFAS will be having the legal backup to terminate the services. Because what we do not want, Adrian, is to start a process or to terminate without following a particular process. Then we then get stopped by the courts because we would not have followed the correct processes for us to terminate this.
Thank you so much for your time. That is NSFAS spokesperson, the Ishmael Mnisi, as well as the OUTA CEO, Wayne Duvenage. Later on this weekend, I think on Sunday, the Minister of Higher Education is expected to give more details around what influenced his decision to dissolve the board immediately and place the agency on administration.